when it comes to implementing SEO recommendations, there is often a gap between when an SEO whose client side receives the recommendations or a strategy and when that recommendation is actually implemented. And there is the client side SEO spends all this time essentially working or battling in some cases to have recommendations implemented. Do you find that you have SEOs that you work with that find it a struggle to implement things from a client side point of view?
Oh, yeah, honestly, all the time. I would say that the exception is internals who can actually get stuff done as opposed to the rule. I think that the biggest thing is really getting an understanding when we start working with a new in-house team of how past interactions have gone when it comes to getting stuff implemented. What are roadblocks that have been in your way? And something else that we also ask is, what kinds of questions are you asked when it comes to performance? For your own, for example, if you have specific indicators linked to your job performance or bonuses, what are those? Because it also tells us a little bit about what the culture is like at the company and, where the priorities lie. Because that can also help us figure out what's important. And the other thing too, I think from an agency perspective, a lot of times too, these SEOs, they know what they're doing in a lot of cases. Sometimes they're just new or inexperienced. They don't necessarily know, and that's why they've hired you. But in a lot of cases, these SEOs are experienced and they've been trying to get these changes done for a while. And then now they've hired some agency who's come in and said exactly the same thing that they've said for years. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, why did you pay them when I was telling you this? And sometimes, honestly, like our job as consultants is to come in and say the things that the internal SEO has been saying, but because they paid us for it, now all of a sudden, it's a real thing and can get prioritized. So I think establishing that kind of like, wink, wink, we know that this is why we're here and we're all in this together, I think can really create a good working relationship with other SEOs. So it's not seen as an adversarial, like we're here to take your job. It's more, we're here to help you be able to do your job because maybe you've been had roadblocks in your way or whatever it might be. So I think establishing that level playing field and making sure, you understand everyone's here to work together is really important in that early stages of a relationship, especially if that SEO is not the reason you got hired. Maybe it's the CMO who came in and they hired the agency and now they're like, oh, and here's this SEO you'll be working with. Good luck. So the other thing too that we have in our contract specifically is we have a clause called mystery voices. And that means that if you are going to introduce someone new to the project halfway through the project, there will be a charge for that and time and everything else. And basically, everybody's going to be involved has to be there from the beginning. And we know that, people change jobs and everything, but it's the idea that these are the roles of the people who are going to be involved. And that really helps people take a moment before they sign that contract and think, who is everyone who's actually going to be involved in this project? And then it can help, broaden the number of people who would come to those initial meetings or have those initial discussions or be involved in when we discuss the goals of the project. And that can be really, really helpful to do that. So I'd recommend implementing something like that if you don't have something already, just to make sure that everyone's involved from the beginning. And then, in terms of implementation, like just find out why this stuff didn't get implemented before. And also, how you present recommendations really makes a difference too. So Arij Abu Ali, who I'm sure you know from the UK SEO scene, she had a fantastic post on implementing technical recommendations and how to present them. And I strongly recommend that SEOs check that out if they haven't already. So I think that agencies will be like, I'm just going to run an audit and, Ahrefs or SEMrush or whatever it might be. And then that's not helping anybody. You really have to think about what's conceivable and don't drop like a 100-page audit on some poor SEO's doorstep and expect them to sort through it and figure out what's going to get done, because then nothing's going to get done.